If you follow the pattern in life, the ministry of Jesus, at some point, despite the healthy boundaries you might establish, despite the choices to prioritize your life of prayer, rest, and Sabbath, despite your best attempts to balance your life and put your family first, you will find yourself on the downside of sacrifice. It's nearly impossible to be in ministry for any period of time before you'll find yourself being asked to make sacrifices that just don't feel good for you. They're not good for you, your family, or maybe even your long-term health. Jesus, of course, made the ultimate sacrifice. He gave his life for the sake of our forgiveness and our adoption into the family of God. And he invites us to come after him in every way. There's no escape. Now, very few of us will be asked to lay down our lives in a very literal sense, though it's not out of the question, is it? But the cost, the self-sacrificial life of ministry in Christ's name, is very real. Most of you have sacrificed earning capacity that you could have had in another calling. You've given away security, maybe the approval of your parents, the affirmation of a community. And most of us have made some deliberate choices towards sacrifice in our lives so that our way of living is in keeping with our biblical values. We sacrifice some of our wants, living simply so we can be generous to others, for example. Time, too. This is the place where every loving pastor eventually pays a great cost. Care for a community almost never fits neatly into the 9 to 5 hours our families might need or desire of us. These are just some of the ways we serve and sacrifice in the imitation of Jesus. And remember Paul's admonition, walk in the way of love, just as Christ loved us and gave himself up as a fragrant offering and sacrifice to God. Self-sacrifice, friends, is part of our pattern of normative discipleship. And as leaders in God's church, Jesus promised that sacrifice would be part of our lives. Now, we make it worse for ourselves when we serve out of a sense of pride, or the opposite side of that same coin, a sense of worthlessness or worminess. Sometimes our sacrifices make us feel a little superior to the people around us who are not making the same virtuous choices. And sometimes we can't stop sacrificing because we feel the service is all that we're worth, or if we stop serving and sacrificing, I may not have a place to belong in a community. The pitfall of pride or worminess leads us to make all manner of bad and even silly decisions. I've done both in my life, at times not paying attention to the healthy boundaries with hurting people in my life, and that hurt my family. And when I bought my first car out of college, I didn't get air conditioning so I could save $3 a month as a way to try to identify with the poor. By the way, that was a terrible decision. A life of sacrifice requires ultimately, friends, that we know who we really are. Just like Jesus in John 13. It says that knowing that the Father had put all things under his power, and that he'd come from God and he was returning to God, he got up from the meal, took off his outer clothing, and wrapped a towel around his waist, and began to wash his disciples' feet. For Jesus, there was not one hint of needing to care for others because that was all he was worth. He knew that God had put all things under his feet. Nor was there a need to serve others so that they would see and appreciate his superlative character or virtue, or maintain some position of power or status. Jesus served, Jesus sacrificed, secure in his relationship to the Father. He sacrificed as a true and beloved Son. And if we're going to walk in the pattern of Jesus in sacrifice, we must also walk with him in the truth of our identity. We are the daughters and sons of God. Our lives offered as living sacrifices to God are begun and sustained as we grow in the truth of who we are in Christ. We sacrifice because we are his beloved children, not because we hope to be or to prove that we are. As beloved daughters and sons, our sacrifices will be the light in momentary troubles Paul talks about. They will pale in comparison to the inheritance that awaits us, the inheritance promised to us in Christ. Now, friends, would you give attention to the sacrifice God's invited you to make this week? Would you watch for pride and guard against a sense of worthlessness along the way? What is God's invitation for you today?